Welcome to the Green Blueprint. We're all talking about a clean energy future, right? Millions of electric cars, new power grids, the works. But this green revolution is running headfirst into an old conflict over land, resources, and basic justice. To understand this collision, we must focus on one specific metal. It's one you see daily, but its critical role in our sustainable future is often overlooked. Any guesses? It's copper. Copper's exceptional conductivity makes it the indispensable backbone of this energy transition, found everywhere from EVs to solar panels. To build all the clean energy tech we need, global copper demand is on track to more than double by 2050. That's a staggering increase, potentially rising by as much as 70% by 2050, driven by its critical role in renewable energy infrastructure. Each electric vehicle contains approximately 180 pounds of copper, 2 to 4 times the amount in conventional vehicles. Wind turbines require between 2.5 and 6.4 tons of copper per megawatt, and solar systems demand between 2.8 and 4.8 tons per megawatt. This surge creates a huge two-sided challenge, dramatically shrinking their carbon footprint while meeting this unbelievable demand. It's like trying to build a lifeboat while bailing water, putting immense pressure on the copper mining industry to expand production. An explosion in demand means more mining. But what is the real cost of pulling all the copper out of the ground? And this is where we get to the heart of the paradox. Listen to this voice. That's Terry Rambler, chairman of the San Carlos Apache tribe. He's talking about Oak Flat, or Chiquilbildaguatil. For centuries, this is where the Western Apache have held their most sacred ceremonies, a site listed on the National Register of Historic Places. However, this land also happens to sit on top of one of the largest undeveloped copper deposits on the entire planet.
The proposed resolution mine would use block cave mining, which literally causes the land above it to collapse. The sacred site wouldn't just be damaged, it would be gone, completely destroyed, creating a crater almost 2 miles wide and 1,000 feet deep. These are the impossible trade-offs that communities on the front lines are having to make, despite years of resistance and legal challenges. Don't think for a second that what's happening at Oak Flat is a one-off. To understand the stakes, we have to look halfway across the world to Western Australia. A very similar story played out there, but it ended in a tragic and completely irreversible way. In 2020, mining giant Rio Tinto, a partner in the Oak Flat project, deliberately blasted ancient rock shelters in Juukan Gorge to expand an iron ore mine. This wasn't just some old cave. This was a site with proof of 46,000 years of continuous human history, an irreplaceable site of immense cultural importance. And now it's gone. This is where things get really stark. You have the promise versus the reality. Rio Tinto talks about co-management and respect. But a political economy journal called what happened at Juukan Gorge an egregious disregard for Aboriginal heritage. That kind of disconnect points to a much deeper, systemic problem. These battles are now forcing a major reckoning in the courts, fundamentally reshaping the entire legal landscape when it comes to land rights. To grasp this legal shift, you have to understand 2 ideas about who owns the land. First, Aboriginal title, a unique, collective right to the land protected by the Constitution. Second, fee simple, that's the private property ownership most of us know, granted by the government. In a truly monumental ruling up in British Columbia this past August, the court basically set up a pecking order. It said Aboriginal title is the senior interest. It's the top dog, and the individual property on those lands, the fee simple, is not automatically safe from the claims of that senior Aboriginal title. This is a complete and total game changer for land ownership across the entire province, setting a precedent for future cases.
So how is the industry responding to all this pressure? With engineering, the copper sector is developing sophisticated technical plans to clean up its act. A key plan calculates that the emissions intensity for producing copper must fall by a staggering 91% by 2050. This plan models everything from electrifying haulage trucks to cleaning up the power grid, focusing on technical solutions. But here is the massive blind spot. It is designed to answer how to produce copper more cleanly, but it cannot and does not address the foundational conflicts over if a mine should be built and where it should be located. A cleaner mine is not necessarily a just one. This technical focus reframes a fundamental conflict over sovereignty and justice as a purely engineering problem to be solved with better technology. So, where does this leave us? The urgent push for copper is forcing a direct, head-on collision between our ambitious 21st century climate goals and these old colonial-era laws about who owns the land. The whole paradox forces us to ask a really tough question. Can we actually build a truly sustainable and just future, if we build it on the exact same foundations of extraction and dispossession that got us into this mess in the first place? How we answer that question is going to define the entire legacy of our so-called Green Revolution. For the Green Blueprint, I'm Annalore. Subscribe if you would like to hear more on the latest sustainability news.